Close your eyes and imagine. Imagine densely packed armored spearheads crossing the few remaining breaches across the Bug and Niemen rivers and ready to wage war into a hostile land. Imagine kilometric columns of mechanized infantry backed up by artillery, assault engineers, and mobile anti-tank detachments rushing behind the panzer groups. And imagine endless waves of Luftwaffe bombers and fighters roaring over the heads of the marching soldiers and pounding mercilessly the enemy lines. Imagine all of this, ladies and gentlemen, because this is what is about to happen in this new episode of Hearts of Iron 4 with a Total War mod. And yes, this is finally here. This is, I think, the most awaited episode that all of you guys have been waiting for. And because of this, I decided to split this episode into two parts. And just for this very first part, let's say the part in which everything worked out, I decided to record it with the let's say in-game speed, so the normal speed, no speed up, no quick video, no nothing. This is just as things unfolded in my crazy campaign of the motorized Wehrmacht only. Oh my goodness. So Operation Barbarossa, if I have to tell you the whole story, unofficially began in the early hours of June 18th, 1941, and with the Luftwaffe already ready to strike from the airfields in eastern Poland as soon as the earliest hour of June 18th ticked in. My planes quickly took off the ground and immediately engaged the battle for air superiority over the western Belarus, western Ukraine, and the Baltic states. And immediately, as you can see right now, the land troops began attacking the enemy lines. And even though I realized too late that the Soviet Air Force put up quite a stiff resistance, the presence of, I would say, at least 300 Stukas on the Eastern Front turned out to be really beneficial in winning the early stages of the frontier war, basically, let's say. And because I have a super motorized Wehrmacht, so even if the Soviet Air Force, as I said, was putting up a very strong resistance in the area of eastern Poland, nevertheless, the surprise effect that my troops managed to achieve on the Red Army meant that my troops could easily break through the enemy lines. Fact that is represented by the endless green arrows here. And as soon as a breakthrough was achieved in one sector, immediately the enemy troops were being overrun. They just had no time to do anything. And because of my Panzer divisions, which were actually the fastest units, in a matter of days, I already conquered the first, let's say, tiles of the Soviet Union. And then Soviet resistance just crumbled, especially in the north, as you can see right now, where the troops of von Kleist, they dashed towards the Dwina River, the big river running northeast of Smolensk and Vitebsk. And that was just an amazing show to watch, really. I think that not even in Hearts of Iron 3 I managed to get such an easy breakthrough and such a deep penetration within just 1 week of war against the Soviet Union. Things were not going that well in the south. though, I must say, because in the south, yeah, I failed to launch a deep pincer movement. I decided just to start the offensive against the Kiev sector. And again, in the south, events unfolded like they were unfolding in my Polish and French campaign. So just attacking and then advancing, and then the Soviets were bringing in more troops. They were trying to reinforce the front line and stuff like that. But unexpectedly, the biggest success came from the north. And I would say another reason of why in the south things were progressing so slow was because of my mistake of launching I don't know how many Panzer, mechanized and motorized troops in the Pripyat marshes. Guys, really, if you are new to the Total War mod, just don't do it. Really, simply just don't do it. And because in the north events were progressing really fast, as the campaign was going on, I drew my plans for an extra push towards Pskov, which was something that you may have seen a few seconds ago. And in the south, I mean, the only big news was to encircle. I think there were 12 Soviet divisions along the Romanian border, but that's all basically, because all of the remaining divisions of the Red Army, they just managed to escape and fall back and retreat and give rise to always a new defensive line, which prevented me from making any deep breakthrough. But again, in the north, wow, things were going really fast. This was really unexpectedly fast, and things were really. So my troops were marching so fast that I had to, from time to time, manually reassign the front line, because if the north was advancing so deep, it just created an enormous bulge, whose flank were deeply exposed. And then I think because of the breakthrough in the north, I think that the Soviet AI realized that something was wrong, and I think it redeployed some of the troops from the southern front to the northern front, just to fill in the gaps that the von Kleist Panzer Group was creating in the Soviet lines. And this in turn made it more easier for me to achieve a small penetration also in the south. But coming back to the north events, this unexpected, let's say, freedom of movement that I gained in the northern sector, in the Baltic sector, tricked me, because I was like, oh, that's really easy. Then I could really push against Leningrad in one go. And this is why I decided to prepare an advance order for von Kleist troops, and which by the time the von Kleist panzers were getting into position, I said, okay, let's focus again on the southern front, and all my good hopes for a quick victory just evaporated, let's say, and faded away, because the Red Army brought additional troops to reinforce the gaps in the southern front. And I was like, okay, then let's try to do one last push against Leningrad. The offensive against Leningrad began on August the 2nd, 1941, when von Kleist panzer troops desperately fought their way across the enemy lines. Again, events also unfolded a little bit in the south, especially when Guderian's panzer troops and mechanized divisions finally, for God's sake, managed to get out of the Pripyat marshes and were now stemming in the direction of Kiev, while the supporting infantry armies, so here they just got four. They were originally four rifle divisions, and here you go, the last push against Leningrad, guys. It was almost reached, but within the first week of August, the German Wehrmacht on the Eastern Front reached its peak. And with this I mean that my troops were just exhausted. They could not fight any longer because they've been. I maybe have underestimated the Soviet resistance, but as you can see, if you pay attention, the green bar, so the bar of the morale, just kept plunging down. Yeah, my troops kept fighting, and they needed some rest. And even though I managed to achieve this breakthrough, I managed to capture Novgorod. I mean, von Kleist panzers were at the gates of Leningrad already at the second week almost at the second week of August. And in the center, the other guys, I don't know, I don't remember which army was that, but they were also advancing towards Smolensk, and Guderian managed to cross the I don't remember the name of the river, but it's not the Dnieper, but it was, yeah, the other name. And Guderian's I think was one of his panzer divisions actually managed to encircle Kiev from the east, and the Ukrainian capital was now threatened. And also in the south, I mean, my troops were reaching the Dniester river, and they almost sealed off the Soviet troops stationed in Odessa. But again, also in the south, my troops reached their peak, and because of the endless reinforcements of the Soviets, I was forced to stop the offensive. And with this ends the first, let's say, chapter of Operation Barbarossa. I decided to record this into two chapters just because, yeah, so this was, let's say, the chapter in which the most positive events happened. And yeah, in the next video you will see what went wrong. You will see I will maybe discuss about my mistakes, and yeah, you will see how events unfolded, especially on the northern front. But for the time being, no spoilers. Just thank you very much for watching, and as always, leave a like, and see you all very, very soon.